We're in a series called, it's asking a question. What does it really mean to be a Christian? What do we believe about Jesus? And we thought, that's pretty important. We describe ourselves as Ecclesia, Houston's holistic, anybody know the next one? Missional, Christian, that's the really, really big one. They're all important, but that's the really big one, community. Ecclesia, Houston's holistic, missional, Christian community. That we follow the way of Jesus. And what we believe about Jesus becomes really important. And so we've been going through one of the historic documents that was created to help Christians know who Jesus is. It's called the Nicene Creed. And Sean and Rochelle have done a fabulous job. How many of you were blessed by Rochelle's sermon last week on Mother's Day? Wasn't it a beautiful, just even the beginning, she knows you so well. She talked about these Monday morning, what'd she call it? Moments that she has with her friend. They have a phone call and she just tells them about you. And hearing her talk about all of you just reminded me how much I love all of you. And if you missed it, go on YouTube and even if you just catch the first part of it, the stories she tells are beautiful. And I get to pick up on it and talk about this section of the creed that's about the incarnation and the beauty and what God's doing. And this is what you need to know. If you went back to our series, God bless you, I love our kids. And isn't it good to be a part of a church where there are a lot of kids, where the sound of that joy permeates what we do? We don't want to exist in some mausoleum or a monastery where there's no noise or life. If you went back to the series that we did early in the year in Genesis, what I would tell you is that if you want to know a lot about God, and I hope you do, you're here at church, I'm going to tell you as much as I know, or that I can fit in 28 minutes. If you go back to the beginning, Genesis has been confusing for people. Some people thought it was a science book. It's not. It is an origin story of who God is and how the world was created. And part of the reason people get confused in Genesis is because people go, do you believe the way that God made the world? Do you believe in that creationism? Some will even call it. As soon as something becomes an ism, it's usually problematic. And people will go do you believe? And the question, if you're a Christian, if you've actually read the Bible, you have to go, yes, but then you can say which one? Because in Genesis, the beginning, God gives two accounts of how he created the world. In the first part of it, he speaks it into existence. And then, and this is maybe my favorite, if I had to choose my favorite, in Genesis 2 and verse 7, it says this, that one day, this is after he spoke it into existence, by the way, the eternal God scooped dirt out of the ground and he sculpted it into the shape we call human. He breathed the breath that gives life into the nostrils of the human, and the human became a living soul. Now, this account, it goes forward, and God had already spoke the animals into existence, but then he sculpts man, and he sculpts every living creature, and he breathes into it, right? And he gives it life. And there's a lot of reasons that this might be my favorite part of the creation account, but the main reason is because God gets his hands dirty. From the very beginning, God's in the garden with his hands dirty. Anybody else have a job that you don't get to get your hands dirty? And every now and then you get out and you get really dirty and sweaty and you're like, unless it was this week and it was unbelievably hot to the point you thought you were going to have heat stroke. But on a normal temperature day, you get out and get your hands dirty, you get your hands in the dirt and you just go this feels good. Anybody else feel balanced when you get your hands in the dirt? When there's something about connecting with the world that we made, right? And this is what I'd tell you, Ecclesia. Christians are made to get their hands dirty. If your hands are too clean, you might not be a Christian. There's something about getting your hands dirty that feels right. It's who we are. And it's in that context that the Bible continually speaks to us. In James 4, it says this. It says, so if you know the right way to live and you ignore it, it's a sin. Plain and simple. If you know there's something you're supposed to do, this is my question to you today. Are there people you're supposed to love that you just haven't made time for? Are there things you're supposed to do that you just didn't do? Paul puts it another way in 1 Timothy 6. He says this, he says, tell them to use their wealth for good things. be rich in good works. If they are willing to give generously and share, anybody want to just say it aloud so we know it was in the Bible? And share what? Share everything. Why? We said it in it belongs to God, right? It all belongs to God. It doesn't actually belong to us. So what does this creed have to tell us? Let me read this short section that I got assigned, and let's see where it takes us. The creed tells us, you picked up on this last week with Rochelle, through him, all things were made. For us and our salvation, he came down from heaven. He became the incarnate. Incarnate's a big word to mean took on flesh, became human by the Holy Spirit and the Virgin Mary, and was made human. He was crucified for us under Pontius Pilate. He suffered and was buried, right? This is what we know, that God moved into the neighborhood and started getting up close with the very creation that he made. Now, I gotta tell you, I grew up with a version of Christianity that was largely in our heads. It was about coming to assent and a belief about Jesus, but it often didn't require, in fact, it kind of discouraged getting your hands dirty. The idea was believe the right things and you're good. But it treated the world a little bit, I realized one day when I had kids. Anybody else have kids and you try to get them in and out of a public restroom that might not be up to the standards of sanitary life that you would like to live? And at 2 or 3 years old, your kids have not yet figured out that you don't just touch everything, right? They're still like, they'll grab the toilet, they'll grab it. And you begin to realize, I started teaching my kids at a young age, the goal when you go to a public restroom is to get in and out without touching anything. Anybody else with me, right? You get in, how many of you actually flush? Are there real people that actually still flush with their hands? You actually touch something? My foot all the time, right? My foot, and then my foot's been on the floor, so whatever was on my shoe is now on that toilet handle. If you touch it, you're probably gonna die. Like, you're definitely sick. You're gonna get sick, right? And the goal, right? Most of us at a well-organized and planned bathroom, the trash can is where? By the door, so you can use a paper towel, open the door, throw the paper towel away, right? Because the goal is not to touch anything. Now, I still live this way in public restrooms. But I gotta tell you, if you live this way in your faith, it's a bad way to live. Because guess what? Jesus was touching everything and everyone that nobody wanted to touch. He was up close and personal. Didn't matter if you were a leopard, Jesus was going to touch you. Leper, it sounded like I said leopard. Did anybody think I said leopard? It had a little soft D on the end. No, leper, which is not what we talk about often. My last couple of weeks, as I told you, have been kind of filled with busyness. Kristen and I moved 2 kids out of dorms, and we're in that sandwich generation where we're still taking care of kids and also taking care of parents. And we moved my father-in-law out of an apartment into an assisted living, all in 7 days. 3 moves in 7 days. And that came on the heels of post-Easter. I had the blessing to pick up a last-minute trip. One of our church leaders had to back out on leading a medical missions trip with quite a number of ecclesians on it to Guatemala. I didn't have room in my schedule. I just did it anyway. And I flew from there to a beautiful retreat we did with Living Water on the East Coast. And it's been boom, 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 not sleeping in your bed and doing all of that. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about my trip in Guatemala because it's that kind of experience with brothers and sisters where you get to get your hands dirty. We had a team with Faith in Action, a medical team we had doctors, nurses, surgeons from Ecclesia. We had a number of surgeons and OB-GYNs on this trip. They were beautiful in the way that they serve. And some Ecclesians, Carrie and Julie Moorhead, organize this trip every year. They pull it together and they pull the team and they recruit the doctors and the medical team, and they are faithful, beautiful Ecclesians. Julie is one of my go-to people when there's a crisis. Hurricane Harvey, she just steps up, opens their house, organizes, does amazing things. And part of my job on the trip is to lead a devotional for the team in the morning and then to walk around the hospital as the medical team serves and pray with people. It's a great opportunity for me to practice my Spanish. And I was in the middle of praying for an older man who was really sick. I couldn't figure out all the things going on with him. I just go around and ask, what can I pray for? And he gave me a list of things. I didn't understand half of them in Spanish, but I just prayed for him anyway. And as I'm praying for him, I feel this small hand touch me. And I looked, and it was the tiny, most delicate, beautiful hand of a 12-year-old girl named Sara. And Sara could barely speak and said, Pastor, por favor, una oración para mí. Will you pray for me? And I said, sure, Sara, I'd love to pray for you. And I prayed for her, and I got to learn that she had these growths on her vocal cords that were keeping her from being able to breathe very easily, eat very easily, and speak easily. In fact, I then got to go into her appointment with her. Part of the fun part of being a pastor in Guatemala is you get to go in and out of all the rooms, and I got to take her to Dr. Moorhead to say, hey, this is a case you really want to pay attention to, and she really needs help. And afterwards, I recorded a short video for Dr. Moorhead. I love you so much, right? Thank you, doctor. I love you so much. And the next day, I got to sit with her in the waiting room for a couple of hours and pray with her and her abuela. And she went in for surgery. Now, the great part of this world that we live in is I have new friends in Guatemala. One's a 12-year-old, and her grandmother has WhatsApp, so she gets on her grandmother's phone and sends me messages. And she sent me a message to thank Dr. Moorhead and the team, and she's so grateful for our prayers and support. And then this week, she sent me this message. We had played around in Spotify. She's showing me her favorite music. Dua Lipa is really big for her. Some music I didn't expect, but I was really blessed to hear that her voice sounds totally different post-surgery. Now, I don't know about you, Ecclesia, but these are the kind of stories that I go, this is the bread that sustains me, right? This is what we're made to do. Like a little girl that could hardly breathe or eat, much less sing, can sing and flourish. It's like we're getting to walk with Jesus in the midst of these stories. And for us, right, this feels to me like the resurrection. The next part of the creed that we're in talks about exactly that. That the third day, he rose again, according to the scriptures. He ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of the Father, and he will come again with glory to judge the living and the dead. His kingdom will never end. And what do? What are we a part? We're a part of extending that kingdom on earth as it is in heaven, about ending this kind of sickness and illness and disease, about joining Jesus in the work that he gets to do. Now, I got to tell you, Ecclesia, there's no better way to live. I don't know what it's like to live without faith, but I got to tell you, it's no fun to live without a faith that's disconnected from action. And to be a part of our church means this is the work we do. We get to do it not far from the village that Sara moved in. The great part is I can go, Sara, send me your pin, right, of where you are. And from the pin to there, I want to take you to about 60 kilometers away to a village that we get to be a part of through our work at Living Water International. And I want to introduce you to Pastor Maria. Maria started a church when she was 19 years old. That's my kind of friend and pastor. And she started this church in Guatemala and needed to address the most important need in that community.
María Valenzuela. Yo a los 19 años tomé el ministerio para poder enfrentar los retos que existían en mi vida o en la comunidad y cómo poderlo solucionar como pastora.
Hola. Hola. ¿Cómo están? ¿Podemos pasar?
En San Martín había mucha necesidad. Porque no tenía su propia agua. No había un pozo. Si no había energía, no recibíamos agua. Pasábamos 2, 3, 5 días sin agua. Y agua que quizás pues, no era tan bien que nosotros la bebiéramos. Buscar mejorar este problema, dudé mucho. Tuve la responsabilidad de ver la necesidad del problema del agua. Sentía yo que me hacía falta algo, me hacía falta mucho para ser pastora. Sentí mucho miedo, preguntándole a Dios que sí, ¿por qué? ¿Para qué me quería Dios? Entonces, todas estas preguntas, Dios me las fue respondiendo poco a poco. Dios sabía qué propósito tenía para mí, Dios sabía qué planes tenía para mí. Dios me ayudó y me llevó a también poder ser parte de este problema y solucionarlo. Pensamos como iglesia que podemos buscar una solución para mejorar nuestra situación del agua. Yo sabía que mi comunidad iba a mejorar. Nos unimos todos como iglesia y también comunidad y también otras instituciones y municipalidad. Luego de que se finalizó el trabajo del pozo, se terminó ese trabajo de instalación de bomba. Luego vino el tanque. Entonces, para esto tú me llamaste, para esto tú me trajiste a este lugar. Aquella joven que inició con 19 años un ministerio, hoy aquí sigue. Mañana voy a ir a la iglesia. Aquí estoy al frente, no solo de una iglesia con 10 miembros, sino que al frente liderando en una comunidad también. Y ahora hemos disfrutado de la bendición de Dios, de nuestra propia agua, porque Dios nos ha usado a nosotros no solamente para las necesidades dentro de la iglesia, sino que para las necesidades de nuestra comunidad. Nuestra iglesia pudo alcanzar algo que hacía demasiado falta. Entonces, ahora lo vemos y sabemos que siendo poquitos, con las bendiciones de Dios, podemos hacer grandes cosas.
I will see it in the blessing to know that we know Pastor Maria and that we get to be a part of her story. I had 2 points I meant to tell you earlier. These are the resurrection stories. I got 4 points today, and now I got to make sure I get them all in. Here's the first one. Incarnation is not optional. We live out our faith with action, with flesh on, with skin on, because that's what we're made to do. And you got to hear this. Resurrection stories, they're our stories. They're the stories we're made to live. Now, you may have just breezed past that when the aerial moment with the tank there, but I got to tell you, I've been in those places where we've been a part of funding with other friends and neighbors that come together, a tank that's built so that the water well that's now established with clean water doesn't just function. Sometimes the water table may get low, but they've got enough water in the tank that you don't go 3 days, 4 days, 5 days without water. The water stays clean and the gravity pushes it down so that you can take it to the points that you need it. When you've got a tank like that, it symbolizes freedom and health and opportunity. And these are the stories that we get to be a part of. So I got to tell you, I had 2 Guatemala stories because we have so many stories from all over the world of the things that we get to do. But I got to tell you, it's heavy on me to realize that it feels like sometimes the quasi-Christian thing to do is to say, let's love Christians in Guatemala. But what if they head north, right? Let me just tell you, Ecclesia, you cannot love Guatemalans just until they head north. We got to love Guatemalans in our backyard. And guess what? The whole world has come to Houston. Now, you can sit around if you want and rant and rave about how they got here, or this is what I tell you from knowing people. They all have different stories. As I was preaching this, I had to realize, I got to keep doing the things I'm made to do. And I got to remind you, these are not hard to do. So guess what I did when I was prepping my sermon yesterday? I went to McDonald's, and at my McDonald's, there were a lot of migrant workers waiting out there. And guess what? You can buy a sausage biscuit at McDonald's for $1.70. Most of you are capable of going in and doing what I did, and I bought about 28 sausage biscuits, right? And guess what? I have 28 new best friends. And of my 28 new best friends, guess how many of them were from Guatemala? 8 of them were from Guatemala. And one of them, when I asked, I just would give a biscuit and say, how can I pray for you, right? And for me, it's good for me. I get to practice my Spanish. I get to learn to listen. I get to work on it. And I had one guy from Guatemala say, I have a daughter in Guatemala and she's really sick. And I'm sending back money, but I don't know what to do, and they don't know what's wrong with it. Now, we couldn't solve the problem, but I can tell you, to be a part of the solution, to be a part of blessing him, and be able to say, let me show you where I was just recently in Guatemala. Ecclesia, these are not hard things to do. Literally, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how bad your Spanish is. You will make friends. And this is the city that we live in. And $1.70, how many of you thought, I could get a friend for $1.70? Yes, you can. Anybody feel I just have too many friends? I have way too many friends. You could use a new friend, and $1.70, and just ask. Use Google Translate if you need to. How can I pray for you? What is happening with you that is difficult? And I promise you, you're going to learn a lot. And lastly, Ecclesia, this is what I want you to hear. There's a lot of reasons I'm excited to be pastor of this church. But I got to tell you, the primary one is about our common ethic together. And you're going to notice it everywhere you look. That for us, Ecclesia focuses on extravagance in mission, not in lifestyle. If you look around, you'll notice our buildings are nice, but there's nothing fancy anywhere. If you knew what we renovated these buildings for and how cheap we got into them and all the things that it's just part of who we are. And we've chosen together to be a people that are extravagant in mission. That when it comes to mission, we're going to give it all. We're putting all our chips in the middle of the table, and we're saying, let's go all in. And if we fail, and I got to tell you right now, we're in a season in the life of our church post-COVID that donations are not the same as they were. And you know what we keep doing? We just keep putting it in the middle for missions. And I got to tell you, there are a number of you, and maybe you're new to the church, and you've been going I don't really know how to participate, and I don't know what to think. And I watched the Righteous Gemstones one time, and pastors have roller coasters and stuff, and I don't know what to do with that. At Ecclesia, you can admit that you watch Righteous Gemstones. It's okay. But in your head, but you got to hear this. There's no extravagance around here. I'm the pastor. I live in Sharpstown in a condo. The seniors are going to come over and spend time in my condo in Sharpstown, right? Sean and I were carpooling this week because there's not enough cars, and we're working together to do things in as meager and beautiful way as we can so that we can be extravagant in the thing that matters most, the mission God's called us to. And so it's one of the reasons I can, without apology, just say to you, will you be part of that? And so we have a QR code that we put up every week during the offering. And it's a place that leads you. There it is. And the one that I want you to focus on, the QR code should take you to a site that just lets you automate your giving. And we're going to leave it up. Sometimes we put it up and we take it down so fast you didn't even know it was there. I'm going to ask them to leave it up, put it back up when we take communion. And I want you to look at it and just go even if it's a small amount that you automate, but the church just says, and every time we drill a water well, we're a part of that. And every time that we feed our brothers and sisters that are living on the street, and by the way, we don't do just a feeding ministry. The food is only a part of building relationship to be able to walk with people and disciple them and see things change and improve in their life as God walks with them, right? As everything we get to do, you get to go, I'm part of that. I'm part of that. When a girl can sing in Guatemala, you go, I'm a part of that. Why do I go work? Why did I pray that God would establish the work of my hand? because the work I do is not only to provide for my family, but for people in need in many places, in Houston and beyond. Ecclesia, I'm proud to walk with you. I'm proud that we get to do it together. And I hope God will bless us as we decide that we're all going to put all our chips in the middle and be a part of something that's really beautiful.